If you saw our video earlier today talking about the NHL's non-playoff teams, all 7 of them, and how they are actually allowed to start trading with each other, you would have noticed that the source that I used in that video, the TSN Insider Trading panel with Bob McKenzie, James Duthie, Darren Dreger, and Pierre LeBrun, I noted in that video earlier today that there was another topic that I wanted to talk about in YouTube commentary formation that came from this insider trading panel. This little topic comes towards the very end, where James Duthie asks Bob McKenzie, and he says, hey, you know, because the NHL is paused up, because the NHL draft is going to be awarded sometime later in the year, whether that's September, October, November, we have no idea, and because the NHL's 2021 season may not start until then, or sometime even in January of next year, what's the plan for NHL top prospects who have yet to had their names been called out by NHL teams? And Bob McKenzie lays it out really nicely. He says, with all of the uncertainties amongst when the NHL draft is going to be, when the NHL is coming back, and furthermore, what options are actually going to be available for hockey players who want to play hockey, there is a legitimate concern for players like Alexis Lafrenière as to what they're going to do in the fall. He says that the CHL, we don't know if that's going to be open. The AHL, we don't know if that's going to be open. And we don't know if the NHL is going to come back then either. It's why Bob McKenzie says that Alexis Lafrenière's agent is looking at all possibilities as to what could happen for Alexis Lafrenière. And that includes teams in Europe. So, this is an interesting idea that we have here. Alexis Lafrenière potentially going to Europe to start off the 2020-2021 hockey season. Now, in my opinion, just taking a look at that idea strictly alone would put Alexis Lafrenière in a really interesting set of company. Assuming the NHL draft happens sometime later in October or November or December, it would make Alexis Lafrenière one of the only European drafted players first overall in these entry drafts this generation, pretty much. Obviously, he's not European, Alexis Lafrenière is from Quebec, but taking a look at some of these other guys in the previous NHL entry drafts who have been drafted, they've almost always been exclusively coming out of the CHL, if not the US NTDP. The only recent ones have been Rasmus Dahlin, who have come out of the SHL, Austin Matthews, who came out of the NLA, and then you have to go as far back as Alex Ovechkin in 2004, who came out of the Russian Hockey League. Every other pick has been a CHL or US NTDP pick. And it really changes things up when you take a look at the possibilities of Lafrenière becoming another one of these North American to European playing players. Austin Matthews has been pretty much the only one we've ever seen go this route, where instead of playing another year at the US NTDP in his draft year, he opted to say, no, I'm going to Europe, I'm going to play professional hockey, I'm going to learn the ranks of what it's like to be a pro, I'm going to get paid while doing it, and I'll get drafted into the NHL later on. This happened because Austin Matthews was really, really old for the entry draft, and if he was just born like a few days earlier, he would have been eligible for the 2015 NHL entry draft with Connor McDavid and with Jack Eichel, etc. So Austin Matthews was in a weird predicament where he honestly had much more to gain from going overseas and playing hockey there than staying in the NTDP. But Alexis Lafrenière is in a different position. Sure, he is also somewhat old for this entry draft. If he had been born maybe a month or two earlier, he would have been eligible for 2019. But Lafrenière is in a position where, legitimately, we don't know if the CHL is going to restart in September, October, November, and furthermore, we don't know if the NHL is going to start then either. It means that Alexis Lafrenière is in a position where his playing career for 2020's fall season is so uncertain that options do present itself to the point where if an SHL or an NLA or a Liiga is willing to play around that time frame, then Alexis Lafrenière has nothing to lose by saying, yeah, okay, I'll sign a contract, I'll play with you guys, have at it. It certainly wouldn't be illegal for him to do that, We've seen other younger teenagers play in the SHL and the Liiga and the Czech Extraliga and the NLA, all this before. It's just a matter of whether or not the players themselves are interested in going overseas, which usually isn't an option for guys who have been spending their entire careers in the CHL or the US NTDP, etc. So depending on if the CHL decides to not go on for 2020-2021, at least at the start in September, October, November, then we may see some of these top NHL prospects like Alexis Lafrenière, maybe Quinton Byfield, maybe Marco Rossi go overseas and play in Europe. We could honestly see something similar to what happened in the 2013 lockout, where players will start off the season playing in Europe, playing for their Swiss League teams and all that, and then once the NHL comes back, maybe in January, maybe in December, whatever, who knows, then Alexis Lafrenière and all these other guys say, okay, sayonara, I played with you guys for a little bit, but I just got drafted into the NHL. I'm gonna yeet over there and start playing for them right about now. Sorry. And for players who are good enough to crack the NHL, maybe they go that route. Alexis Lafrenière starts off his 2020-2021 season playing 20 games in the SHL, and then he finishes off a full 82-game NHL season with whichever team drafts him first overall in the NHL Entry Draft, whenever that may be. And who knows, this could provide a really good opportunity for other players who aren't good enough to play in the NHL, but who still get drafted. Maybe a Quinton Byfield gets selected second overall by the Ottawa Senators, but the Senators say, okay, you know what? We don't want to bring you over just yet. Stay in Europe, stay over there in the Liiga or wherever you're playing, dominate that league, and then we'll sign you and start you out in the 2021-2022 season. It's certainly an option for any of these players who definitely aren't guaranteed NHL spots. And when it comes to that, there are a lot of players in this draft who many people are saying aren't guaranteed. Probably the only one who is guaranteed is Alexis Lafrenière, but aside from that, there's a good rhetoric that says that Quinton Byfield, Lucas Raymond, Alexander Holtz, all these guys could use another year of development before stepping into the National Hockey League full-time. This actually brings up a very interesting idea that many people don't really like to explore. And it's been like that for years now, where NHL prospects who are really good in the CHL or the US NTDP legitimately can get some good experience, some money, and some sightseeing in their draft years in the NHL by playing in Europe. This is something that I think should change as the years go on, because even for a guy like Lafrenière, many people would say, he's too good for the CHL. The guy just posted up 2 100-point seasons in a row before turning 18, and now, what's next for him? Another CHL year? This guy could benefit from playing in Europe, where he goes over and he plays against better competition, he plays in a different environment, and he learns the reins of what it's like to becoming an actual pro athlete. In that sense, I definitely commend Auston Matthews for what he did in his draft year, where he opted to go to Europe, becoming the first player pretty much ever to go that route. And I hope that we see players follow suit in that route in the future. Who knows? It could all start from this next upcoming offseason, because we don't know when the NHL draft is going to be, we don't know when the next NHL season is going to be, and all that uncertainty could lead to some of these top CHL guys defecting over to Europe in a way and starting off their 2020-2021 campaigns overseas. It's certainly something that I would like to see, but would you like to see this as well? Would you like to see Alexis Lafrenière playing with the ZSC Lions in the NLA, the same team that Auston Matthews played on earlier on in his career? Would you like to see Quinton Byfield playing with Frölunda alongside of Lucas Raymond and all the other really nice guys that they have over there? Since these CHL guys aren't bound by any contracts, they have the right to do that. And frankly, I think it would be really interesting for that door to open up as an option for NHL drafted prospects going into the long term. So, comment down below what you think about this idea. Do you think Alexis Lafrenière does it? If the NHL doesn't start up until January and the NHL draft isn't held until November, and let's say the CHL doesn't start up either, does Alexis Lafrenière go to Europe? And if he does, where do you want to see him end up? Because I think I have a lot of international viewers out there who watch these YouTube videos, and a lot of you guys definitely do have your own fan bases and teams that you cheer for. So have at it. Who do you want Alexis Lafrenière to go for and play for? Because if you could add an Alexis Lafrenière to any of these European teams, oh boy, that could be a really, really nice addition, wouldn't it? So comment down below all your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. So did I, Trolls99. and bye.